Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at some of these coins then, shall we? Let's start obviously with the main big boy, Bitcoin, because that'll basically lead into all the others, because the general direction is going to be dictated by this one, as always. So I mean, you guys follow my channel, and I'm sure it's not the first time tuning into Bitcoin, so you know that we've been going down for all this time. It's over 6 months now. We're going into the new year. We're still sort of essentially, I suppose, going down. We've been rejected from the top of the itchy cloud. That was the largest stick that we had since we broke out of the descending trend. Every time we got up to the top of the Bollinger Band, or even you could call it the itchy cloud, we've been rejected from it. So we got rejected on this occasion, and we are sort of trending down. I mean, I expected to see this next time we came up to this area. If you watch that live stream, this is basically what I was saying on that stream, is that we'll be rejected from the top of this cloud, and then we'll have a few days going down and maybe another attempt up. But basically, because we didn't close above this candle here, and you can see these two bodies here closed at pretty much the same price action, this is the area to beat, which is 7,500. We need to close a candle above there for us to consider this go bullish. Because we've not closed a candle above there in, what would this be now, 2 weeks? It's becoming a little bit, well, more than a little bit. It's basically becoming bearish now. So the bearishness is going to be felt across the board. All altcoins, Bitcoin is going to be suffering eventually. My expectation now is that we're going to be coming down to the 7,000 and break that. Now you can see that we got excited on this because we saw this cross here, the conversion baseline cross, and that usually sparks a continuation of a move. However, this was forced. It was forced by this giant pump. It was more than a pump. It was effectively a bounce from testing a very low level again. It was an obvious trade in many ways, so a lot of people cashed in on this one, but we've not really had continuation. We have had a little bit here, but it's fading out, similar to what happened here, where we bounced massively from here, but we failed to have continuation. So this one isn't quite as bad as this, but the pump also wasn't quite as significant. So it was a big pump, but now we're tailing off. And so when we had this pump here, we had a cross, conversion over baseline cross here, which normally would say we're going to have continuation from the price action where we're at right there, and we had the tiniest little piece of continuation from that price action, and then we basically came back down again. Now I'm not saying that that's exactly what's going to happen here, but it looks like it could, because now we're having a negative slope on the conversion line. They're basically going to be hitting that baseline. If we carry on like this over the next few days, we're going to hit that conversion line, and that again will basically bring us back to where we were before. We'll probably find ourselves bouncing around the 7,000 area before we break down, and maybe we'll find this descending trend here as a support in the short to mid-term, but I think basically we're going to be coming back down. Now we're not obviously in this box anymore. This little wedge that we had here is not really relevant. However, the price within that kind of is. So the first thing that we're looking for a bounce would be the obvious, which would be 6,600. When we get down there again, I would expect a bit of a bounce, but I don't think the bounce will be as significant as any of these two, because this bounce was less than this bounce. So actually, next time we come down to it, we'll probably find ourselves bouncing, but not as much, and basically falling back down and coming back down within this area. The area being anywhere from as low as 4,900 to 6,600, and we'll have to see how we can cope within that range, because if we do break down into that area, and we probably will over time, maybe over the next couple of weeks or so, but within January, I'd probably say this is likely to happen, sooner rather than later, within the first week or two of January. So in the next 10 days or so, probably, we'll have a price action down in this area, unless of course we can sort of jump out and break above all these areas. But what you've got to bear in mind is, with moving averages all sloping down like this, being stuck beneath an Ichimoku cloud, a big fat red resistance cloud, which is fast approaching lower levels of resistance, it's unlikely that we'll find our way above here fast. To get out of one of these areas like this, to get out of a cloud like this, it's going to take some doing. It's more likely to be rejected beneath it, or at some point within it. But what we see is this green 50 exponential basically trending, and it will be trending more or less alongside of this itchy cloud. So the resistance is getting worse and lower every day. Support is yet to be tested, but I'd say that it's likely to be around 7,000 to start with, then obviously 6,800 to 6,600, but then when that area breaks down, it could really break down quite nastily. We could come all the way back down to as low as mid 5,000s, within a 24-hour period. It would be that nasty. It could even come down faster than that and lower than that. We just don't know, but it's not going to be good. Once this area is taken out here, it will be pretty nasty, because 6,600 is a pretty significant number. It's the number around this level here. If you can see how long Bitcoin stayed around this area before it finally broke down really badly, you can understand why this 6,600 is and is going to be significant support for us. But if it doesn't hold up, if it does break down, you can understand why people are thinking it's going to get nasty. I'm not saying that history is going to repeat itself, but with a resistance, with a support price of that, you know where I'm coming from. You can see what basically happened before, so it's likely to happen again if we break down beneath it. And I don't mean this is going to happen again, but a significant sell-off would happen again. So let's have a look at some of these other coins then. So we've got Ethereum on the daily. It doesn't look too bearish, doesn't look too bad, but when you scroll out, you can see that actually it's pretty nasty. We've got a rainbow of moving averages from highest time frame to lowest time frame, basically the opposite of what you would expect to see from anything that represents a bullish chart. So we're bearish on this, clearly bearish on this. It's strong in its own way. It's strong. As far as altcoins are concerned, it has recovered okay from the bottoming area down here, but the fact is it's still bearish. So I would expect this area to be taken out if Bitcoin decides to plummet back down to 6,600. We might even find a lower low than this, and I think over time we could be going below the $100 for Ethereum, just temporarily. We could find ourselves at a level of around about $80 to $90 for Ethereum, which sounds shocking, but it's completely plausible. XRP, again, another one of those that it has shown relative strength, and I don't mean strength as in it's gaining in value, but it refuses to get pushed down much lower than this level. That could again all change when if Bitcoin does what I think it's going to do. I think my target of between 14 and 16 cent would be hit, and perhaps maybe lower, but I think at that point it's going to have so much resilience in it. For a top cap coin, it's going to be difficult to keep it at a level that low. I think the bounce would be pretty tasty, to be honest with you, with XRP. I think it'd be one of those coins that buying down at those low levels would probably be a pretty good idea, because when things start to recover, I think XRP could recover quicker than most. Let's have a look at some of the small cap coins then, shall we? So Matic has been pumping a little bit today. At one point it was up around 10% or so, and I'm basically sold out of this one. Obviously I did my 4x on it and I was very happy with the 4x. Lucky enough to pretty much sell at the top, but at the moment I'm not keen on buying it, because if we look at what it's doing here, it's waving around, but it's not making higher highs, it's basically making lower highs. It's not made a lower low since it's bottomed out at this level, but if Bitcoin comes back down, it's going to make a lower low, believe me, it will. The 1 cent is definitely on the charts for Matic. I'm not saying that's going to happen immediately, but 1 cent is definitely on the cards. We have an incoming death cross looming overhead here, trending beneath all major moving averages, which are they're not in an extremely bearish posturing. They're leveling out, which is fine. That's kind of good in a way. If Matic can pump its way up above 2 cent, that would be great, and we could call it accumulation at that point, and maybe that would be something worth buying. But at this moment in time, it doesn't know what it wants to do. I believe it's likely to be testing these low levels, because everything's going to trend with Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin wants to fall down to 6,600 and then lower, Matic's going to come down with it too. And if Bitcoin decides that it's going to fall off a cliff, Matic is definitely going to fall off a cliff. as is Link. Chainlink looks like it's about to basically die. Basically, we've got this incoming death cross here. We've got death crosses all over the place on these small cap coins because they pumped quite well, and some of them got close to golden crosses or whatnot. But Link fell out of the sky. It had a nice pump, but it just couldn't take it anymore, and it just died over the space of about a month. And that death is only going to be accentuated in the coming month. If this is to take place, I think Chainlink could find its way easily down to what $1.50, but it could even be down as low as $1.20 or perhaps even lower. And when we look at previous resistance support levels, we got $1.47 at this level here. That would find a nice bounce probably, as we found a bounce at this level here, because you can see this little dip that was brought back up on our last pump. That's where we bounced from here. This little, well, I say a little, it's quite a significant wick, and pumped us back up to this level. But we're trending underneath the all moving averages. Absolutely every single one of them. We're not even trying to make our way up to the 200 exponential. Being rejected before then, even being rejected actually. When we look at this, we're being rejected on the 10 simple and the 9 exponential. So to be rejected from those levels is pretty bad, to be honest with you. I mean, they're the basics. That's the bread and butter of anything that wants to be bullish. You want to be above those guys at the very least. You don't want to be rejected from them, which is basically what's happening right now. So it's looking extremely bad, extremely bearish for poor old Chainlink. Unless someone decides to buy the hell out of this and pump it to the sky, this chart is gonna. It just tells me that we're coming significantly down on this one. We are likely to be seeing between $1.50 to start with, and if that breaks down, $1.20 to maybe even $1. And if we get to $1, who's to say we're not going to go lower than that? But those would be my areas. First of all, we'll find a bounce around $1.59, then $1.50, then $1.20, then $1. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all pans out. Again, everything that I've spoken about depends on what Bitcoin decides it wants to do. And at the moment, even though it looks indecisive, and the last video I made I said I was 55% in favour of the bears, I think I'm going to up that a little bit now to perhaps maybe 60 to 65% in favour of the bears. So normally when I get to about that level, I like to start trading. But you know, still there's quite a lot of risk involved with that, and I'm not a financial advisor, so this is definitely not financial advice. But I quite often find myself trading when I believe that there's a 65% certainty that something's going to happen. On this occasion, I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see if this cross happens, and to see if we pump up to these levels, and perhaps maybe if we do pump up to these levels, I might place a short around the top of the Bollinger Band, or the green 50 exponential, or even the bottom of this Ichimoku cloud. Then I might decide to short this, because that would only be a fake out. It would be hunting out shorts. That's all it'll be doing, and then basically you find yourself a tasty allocation. That's what I'll be looking to do. Obviously, I'm not telling you guys how to trade. That's my plan. I like I say, I'm 65% in favour of the bears, and I would definitely consider shorting this on the next, you could call it a flash pump. Obviously depending on where it goes. If it overshoots these areas, then fine, but if it doesn't, if I see a clear rejection from here, that would be my opportunity to short this. And by shorting Bitcoin, I will short Ethereum, I will short XRP, I'll short a lot of them, because they will all follow the same trend, and they will all come down, because they're doing exactly what Bitcoin does. And at the moment the money is being drained out of this market. Even though we've had a little bit of a pump, you know, this last couple of weeks, it's nothing really. I mean, people thought they were reversing here. People thought it was going to go up, and look what happened to those guys. Each one of these green candles is people trying for a continuation. Each one of these reds are people like me shorting it and taking the money away from them. So that's basically the aim of the game in trading. You know, you're taking other people's money. So if you just try and work out, you know, what the correct direction is, you know, people like this are just happy to throw their money away. They obviously don't know what's going on. They don't have a clue, and that's where people like me, unfortunately for them, that's where people like me end up cleaning up, because this was an obvious trade, this one. And even though this isn't the same, it's similar. it's similar to this move. It's not quite the same, but it's very similar. So like I say, next time there'll be a big wick up, something like this is what I'm expecting to perhaps maybe spike up here. Then definitely I'll allocate a short position. But again, I'm 65% certain, which is normally where I would trade. But at the moment, I'm not going to allocate a short position at this area, basically in the middle of the Bollinger Band. If anything, it could be going up for a little bit before it goes down. So it's not a good place to allocate anything right now. But that's the deal. That's where I stand with it. I will be bearish on every single altcoin out there because I'm bearish on Bitcoin. But that doesn't mean we're not going to have a bump. You know, we could come up to, what's this, 7,550? We could quite easily do that, and that's where I would begin to short. But at the moment, like I say, my overall direction is down. It might take a month or so. It could take, it's more than likely going to happen within the next 10 to 15 days or so. But yeah, like I say, that's my plan. That's the general direction. I expect perhaps a big spiky short hunt, but generally speaking, we're down, and we will be going down until further notice. Never mind, everybody. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice evening, and Happy New Year.